Successful brands don't need to rely on serious sustainable credentials to get into people's head and hearts. They can get funding really easily because they have high visibility and they can attract funds. And that's a real difference. They're not the founders, but we'll certainly bring some of them in to really create the buzz that we need. And it's the big question, are sustainable brands dead? Because if you listen to the market right now, if you listen to the political sentiment, if you listen to, even in consumer land, that question is coming up, okay? This article was 3 days ago. The Quiet Death of Consumerism in the Fortune magazine, probably the biggest business publication in the world. So this is a real challenge that we're facing. And from that article, they talked about it's not that consumers don't care, okay? But when they see ethical and sustainable practices, they don't necessarily want to pay for it. And this is a popular sentiment, as I said, that's happening right now. It's happening with eco-category failures in alternative meat, in alternative dairy, and some of the protein brands, a high level of failure. The political climate has changed in the US and elsewhere that's making it harder to talk about and push sustainable initiatives. And there's a definite backlash that's quite market-led against purpose-driven brands that have been conflated with sustainability, which is a challenge also. All right? And when we look at the consumer data, it's equally as challenging. People are absolutely concerned about the environment. The problems aren't going away, but they're really confused and disillusioned with what sustainability is. So we really are at a crossroads at the moment. And that backlash, we really do need to understand it to move forward. All right? And as a marketer, as someone who's did my career at Suntory and worked with Procter & Gamble and Unilever and a lot of big brands, and spent the last 10 years working with startup brands. As a marketer and as an operations person, we need to take a bit of responsibility for what's happened. Yeah? One of those is how we classify the people that buy. Okay? We propagated the myth of the conscious consumer, which is they would always choose sustainable products no matter what. They would be willing to pay more for them. And no matter what category, they're willing to buy a sustainable alternative. The reality looks a little bit different, okay? The unconscious consumer who cares about sustainability, but cares about taste and quality and price and what they can afford and what's available at the shop and what's convenient for them given their life and the economic circumstances that we all live in now. Okay? 95% of us are living here. Okay? Only 5% are living there, and we can't build brands based on that 5%. Okay? Secondly, marketers like me have contributed to this, which I'll call sustainable slop, for the last 10 years. Okay? We flooded the market with green promises, to the extent that most people, whether the brand is sincere or not, are doubting those sustainable claims. That's the reality of the market. More than half think they're being misled. Okay? And food and beverage has a role to play in that. Okay? I work with a lot of different brands across a lot of different categories, and the difference in labeling between markets, the difference in claims between markets, the different health requirements make it very, very difficult for the consumer to work out what's what. So where do we go? A great book, which I recommend you read, by Chris and Nadia, Embedded Sustainability, the Next Great Competitive Advantage. Really, I think hits the nail on the head about moving forward. True sustainability is an invisible baseline standard of your core operations, not an external marketing message. We need to get back to that idea. Okay? We sold sustainability as some shiny new slogan that, you know, was going to change the world, when actually it's really the core of business that can make products and brands actually better. This is the idea that we're trying to get back to. Okay? It reminds me of, I worked in technology, I've been around long enough, in the early noughts when, you know, mobile came out and it was like, oh, we have to create a whole ecosystem just around mobile. Okay? Not mobile apps, but mobile everything. Mobile advertising, mobile campaign, mobile teams. And after a few years, it just didn't make any sense, because mobile fitted into a broader integrated ecosystem of how things work. I think we're doing the same thing with sustainability. Okay? We're creating a separate category of brands instead of making it a core business requirement for every brand. So there is a new movement going on, and it's been happening for a few years. It's often founder-led and new entry brands-led, but this idea that we're not just creating great sustainable brands, we're creating great brands powered by sustainability. And it's a subtle difference, but it's a really important one. This quote from Simon Middleton, I think, sums it up. Sustainability it's not a unique selling point or a box to tick, okay? We've got to move past this idea of being a separate sustainable brand and start designing great products that are empowered by sustainability from year one. Not just great products, great brands, great service, with powered by sustainability, but not just talking about sustainability. Okay? There are a lot of challenger brands, many of them at THAIFEX, that are taking this on board and have been doing it for the last couple of years. I'll talk about a few of them today, but this is the new way forward for a lot of brands that have to prove their commercial credentials. I call it powered by sustainability. And getting back to that book, it's about, and speaking as a marketer, and this talk is about driving sales and driving growth. This is particularly targeted as the marketers and the operational people out there, as we need to reconnect products, brand and marketing back to sustainability again. Now, if we're going to move forward. Our Growth Asia, our company, we have a go-to-market framework around product market fit and brand development and marcom execution when we go into new markets. Really the question is, how do we integrate sustainability into that? And how do we do it so we can power sustainability to grow the business? Through that, I just want to talk about three areas that we tend to focus on when we look at sustainability and how to grow brands and really make them sell effectively. One, how can we connect the core sustainability to a great product experience? Two, how can we build a memorable change brand that stands out? And three, how can we scale with something that we call brandertainment? Tongue twister. And again, a lot of these brand examples that I show today all do these things, and it's cumulative, not separate. Okay, step one, elevating the product experience. We should all know, right, that sustainability, unfortunately, is not the top of mind when it comes to making a purchase decision. We know that through consumer behavior and data, okay? Quite often, it really shows up after purchase when you've made a good product and then they like the sustainability as well, and then they'll talk about it. In fact, the data shows that they will retrospectively go back and tell you that they bought it because it was sustainable when they didn't. That shows you the power of sustainability in terms of reconfirming purchase decisions. The primary choice drivers, as everyone in food knows, quality, taste, value, nutrition, much more functional health now, and certainly convenience. So part of our challenge when we work through brands is that, okay, where is the sustainable truth that we can build off into the product, whether it's with sustainably grown coffee that creates smoother, sweeter, and vibrant coffee flavors. Single origin bean cacao for chocolates. Okay, smoother, less bitter, more vibrant flavors. Whatever brand or category that you're in, that formula is going to be different, but connecting back to that customer experience is absolutely critical, okay, for the business. I'm going to go through a few brands that, as an Australian, I like, and someone who's had 20 years in Bangkok that I like as well. One of those is Remedy, who've been around for a long time. Really sustainable operation, zero waste, 100% recyclable product. Their product messaging is about zero sugar, better gut health, refreshing fizzy drink, soft drink replacement. It's not about sustainability. Sustainability is in the background for the product, is a proof point. Uncle Saba's out of, I often go to Jakarta and have these. They're fantastic. And yes, they're lentils and chickpeas, and they're an ancient legume, which is, you know, really low carbon footprint. But their selling point is they taste just like standard chips, but they're 3 times the fiber and 4 times the protein. Okay? They're connecting their sustainability back to their product experience. Box Green Snacks, also fantastic brand. Environmental and social, also again, are able to connect back to local, fresh and nutritious out of Singapore. And the last one, for those who love to go to Japan, these are fantastic noodles. If you have them, you will not know the difference from other ramen noodles, and that's the intention, okay? They use yellow pea. It's a very sustainable product, but it's got 18 grams of protein, 12 grams of fiber, but they always go, have a bowl of this and you won't have a sugar crash. That's their selling point. So the new mindset around product, as David Christian says here, sustainability for us could no longer be the wrapper for our marketing. Okay, it had to be the engine of our product design. What it shifted was an external messaging strategy to our internal core driver, and it completely changed the way that we produced. That's the sentiment that I'm seeing. Okay, that's the driver of sustainability in F&B brands now. Your core sustainable operations are the engine driving product, taste, quality, nutrition, and convenience. The engine that drives the reason they buy. If you can make that connection in every way that your company does, you'll do well. So I'll say from a product perspective, sustainability isn't dead, but we can't go back to putting labels on our products and marketing like we have been, okay? We need to use climate resilient, environmentally effective ways to create products that people love, irrespective of how it's made. And we always put this test to our clients. It's called the Zero Sustainability Test. If you couldn't talk about your product's sustainability, how would you compete on a product benefit basis? If you remove that, of course we don't want to remove that, of course that's a part of who we are, but that reminds us of the consumer choice hierarchy that they're using when they're buying. Okay? All right, step 2. Beyond product, let's talk about building a brand that challenges. Not a challenger brand, but a brand that actually challenges. Most startups that we work with, most emerging brands, number 1, product market fit. Number 2, the lack of brand development. There is a temptation for many startups, be they in tech and food tech and in other areas, to really believe that product is all that matters. But pretty soon they find out the brand impact can be pretty severe when they're not promoting their brand correctly. Okay? The key principle that I first learnt at Suntory 30 years ago that I still apply today is the 95-5 principle, which Aaron Bass sort of codified about 15 years ago. What that tells us is in any category, F&B included, there's only 5% at any one time that are buying you right now. 95% of your customers are not buying you yet. They haven't come to market yet. What that means is that most of your customers are out of market, and that's what brand is for, to reach them and remind them. There's those in market you're selling to now, those not in market that you're marketing to for the future. So it doesn't matter how good your product is, okay? Most people aren't looking to buy your product right now, not today. So the main purpose of brand development is helping people remember and choose you when they come to market. And that applies to sustainable brands, that applies to every other brand. A great product experience drives short-term sales. A strong brand helps the future growth of the business. This is a fantastic book. He's just released a second version of it. It's called Future Demand. James Herman runs one of the best innovation studios out of New Zealand. He's involved in about 10 startups. Most of them have gone, if not regional, then global. He's a fantastic advocate for early branding for startups. Okay, and he talks about the Easter Island effect, where people on Easter Island, they used to build these moai, but they chopped all the trees down in order to keep building because they were so obsessed with them. But they ended up with no trees, famine, and they had to leave the island. Okay? If we don't invest in regrowth and plan for the future, our businesses are going to fail. And that's certainly the case if we look at startup brands. Usually when you start up, there's growth there. Okay, there's available demand in the market that you can sell to. Okay, but at some point in time, those sales drive up. Usually it's about 2 to 3 years, but it depends on the category. Okay, so what you've done is you've created a product that can drive short-term growth, but you haven't created any brand communication that communicates to the 95% of people that aren't buying you yet. And by the time they come to market, they have no idea who you are. Okay? The failure is no future demand creation, no brand development. And I've seen it a million times. James Herman talks about it all the time. Most brands start off very successful. Almost all of them fail between years 3 to 5. Almost all. Okay? Because they haven't built the long-term business, they've just focused on the short. And the challenge is, if you come to it late, there's a lag, because those 95% of people are coming to the market slowly. By the time they come, it's another 6 months and you've run out of money. Okay? So, early and consistent brand building matters. You've got to convert the 5% now, speak to the 95% that are coming. That's the job of marketing. But for sustainable brands, it's not just that, okay? Just like product messaging, our brand message has been all about sustainability. And the challenge with that is some big people got there before us. Yeah? So are they going to believe that your message is real? Who's the hero? Them or you? Are you making a genuine connection? We're all in the same boat, unfortunately, when it comes to sustainable messaging. Okay, we've got to build a brand that actually challenges, okay, that slays the monster of the existing brand, and we have to do something new, not repeat the same old sustainable messages. Okay, we call it the anatomy of a F&B challenger brand. You've got to have rational attributes around sensory experience and nutritional advantages and convenience. You've got to have emotional and lifestyle attributes for a brand around what you mean in their life, their image, their lifestyle, okay, their confidence, their happiness. Are they in control? That needs to be part of your brand. And of course, sustainability message can be in there as well. But that's just one attribute of your brand that you can speak about to different stakeholders. All right? And of course, it's powered, those points are proven by your sustainable core. And you can talk about all those sustainability, but you don't get stuck in just doing that to the end user customer. And you can paint the monster, the existing legacy brand as being, okay, same old promises, creating an emotional connection, but no real proof. Okay, yesterday's solutions, not meeting today's needs. That's what we do. We call it a versus positioning. If you're a startup brand, you need to find your monster, okay? The one that you're up against, that you can fight with, okay? Our brand job is not to try and promise the world or promise that we will save it. It's to show how the monster represents the bland, unhealthy, inconvenient past, and we're standing up, okay, to make your life and our future a little bit better, just a little bit. There's a whole bunch of brands. I'll run through these real quick. Oatside, I love this brand. I've been involved in oat milk for a long time. They've done a fantastic job of getting to market. They've got a good sustainability story, but they don't sell on that. They sell on a fun, Thai-based oat milk, okay, that people will love, will enjoy, that's really rich, and that's suited to local tastes. Tony's Chocolonely, fantastic, amazing brand. Most people think it's the brand that fights against, you know, supply chain and you know, paying cocoa farmers a living wage. But if you speak to a lot of people who love the brand, they love it for the taste, the premium feel, the way that it's designed. That plays as big a role in the brand as anything else. Liquid Death, everyone talks Liquid Death, and I won't talk to death about them, but you've got to remember that it's actually telling a sustainable story that's fighting against plastic water. Are people buying it for that reason? Generally not. Because it's cool, okay? Because it's got humour, because there's lifestyle elements that appeal to people. Plus there's got the back end of sustainability and not being a plastic water company. And Chosen Foods, the last one, similar story. They have got a really sustainable approach to how they do their business, okay? But really they're about the product itself, what it can do, the type of packaging and bottles that they have, and the fun that they have. And I'll say fun, because if you look at all these powered by sustainable brands, they've all got personality, they've got tone, they're light, they're friendly, they're not overly serious, sustainable brands very earnestly trying to tell you how to save the world, okay? I think that era is pretty much over. Brand development, your core sustainable operations are the engine to challenge the consumer's head and heart to consider more than the same old choice. So it's the engine that drives how they remember you, and they won't remember you if you're just talking about sustainability. We do the same test on the brand side, okay? If you don't talk about your brand sustainability, how does your brand stack up against your competitors, whether they're sustainable or not? Because the consumer is looking at both, whether you like it or not. So, successful brands don't need to rely on serious sustainable credentials to get into people's head and hearts, okay? They create their own story, rational and emotional, okay? That creates an appeal of something different and better. And they often do it with a smile, they do it with humour, they do it with lightness, they do it with a mass market appeal. Last one, step 3. I'm going to talk about marketing in a slightly different way. I think this is something that's come up in the last couple of years, and it's really good for brands, even brands that are not creator-led, to look at what's going on. Chris Williamson, from his Modern Win podcast, and another YouTuber, they created Newtonic, which is a, you know, brain health, rejuvenation, sports drink. It's worth 60 million already, and they've only been going a short while. They estimate that it will probably be valued at $1 billion in not too long. There are plenty of other, if you walk around THAIFEX, creator-led brands coming through. What is creator brandertainment? They have a personal storytelling built in because that's what they do. They have embedded reach and influence because they already have an audience. They have a very diverse content system of people they can call up to create content for them. They can get funding really easily because they have high visibility and they can attract funds. They can move fast and change things quickly. We need to learn a little bit from this. It doesn't mean that we love every creator-led brand. We don't have to. okay? But there are things to learn. There's one there I like, there's one that I don't, and that I won't let my 10-year-old go near, okay? But there are a lot of these that are coming up, and a lot of them are doing quite well. We call it brandertainment ecosystem. Let me talk you through what that means. Traditionally, startups, as you know, we're locked in. We don't have a lot of money. We have to build our customer base slowly. Takes time to build awareness out there. It takes money. Then we can get distribution. Then we can grow. It's a step-by-step process. We have to balance what we call physical and mental availability, which means people have to know us before we can get the distribution and buy us. And we talk about failing fast and failing slow. Failing fast meaning if you go out there too quickly and people don't know you, you're going to fail. If you stay where you are and the market moves on, you're going to fail too. What these creative brands do is flip the switch a little bit. With brandertainment, they really get reach and influence as fast as they can, as quickly as they can. They try and establish awareness by creating really interesting content across as many channels as they can, okay? That can drive awareness, faster distribution, and greater sales opportunities. There's a risk there, funding, production, all of those challenges, but they are flipping the switch in terms of the ability to potentially scale very quickly, okay? And this is an interesting approach. Whether you're a sustainable brand or not, for sustainable brands that are powered by sustainability, it opens up layers of communication for them. How do we make the difference? Traditional marketing for brands, boring social feeds, paid ads, meta ads, Google ads. These guys, it's a lifestyle and entertainment channel, okay? Paid influencer posters, they'll bring on, and the startups I'm involved in, we're giving creators a percentage of the business so they can go out and create as much content because they're invested in it. And that's a real difference. They're not the founders, but we'll certainly bring some of them in to really create the buzz that we need. You can pay celebrities, mass celebs, very big here in Thailand, or you collaborate with niche influencers, whether they're baristas or chefs, and really try and get them on board and potentially get them in the company as well. They do traditional retail marketing, or they do retail ownerships. They have their own stores, their own pop-ups. They try and create their own retail channels. It's really the difference between your marketing and media driven by others, especially media, to actually you starting to co-create the content and media yourself. And this is something you'll really learn from. You don't have to be a creator to do this, but you can certainly act like one. I'm going to go through very quickly 3 brands that I think that are doing fantastically well. V2 Food, Australian alt meat. They're bucking the alt meat trend and actually growing 30% year on year in Australia, across Asia, in China, in the US as well. And they created a huge amount of taste test, cooking videos. They're trying to get across the idea that this stuff is easy to eat, easy to use. People love it because that's the big barrier when it comes to alt meat. They're doing a fantastic job at it. And you don't have to be big. This is a small brand out of Singapore, Confetti, who do really, really good. I love their influence approach. So using as many influencers as they can, some of them in travel, some of them in cooking, some of them in different areas, and they're creating just really good, fun content. Again, it's centered on the brand and the product. It's not just fun for fun's sake. There's a business driver behind it. But for a small brand, they're doing a fantastic job. And the last one, near and dear to my heart, that I love, and I love what they do. They're a Chiang Mai-based chocolate brand. They are very much about gourmet. They're very much about the flavours of northern Thailand, but they're also really about getting people in and experience the brand. They have 5 retail stores now in Thailand. They're about to have 1 or 2 more. You can go in, you can learn how to make chocolate, understand how it's made. They'll take you on a tour. It's a very sensory and entertaining experience. So I love what these guys do. So just wrapping up, brandertainment is again, based on your core operations, creating content that entertains, engages, and opens up opportunity. The ability to scale with brandertainment rather than going low and slow is really worth thinking about if you can manage the potential funding and production challenges that go with that. Yeah? Okay, so 3 things we've talked about. Create a great product experience based on that sustainable core. Build a memorable challenger brand that actually challenges, not just talks about sustainability. And scale up quickly if you can with what I call brandertainment. And look, the last slide and the last note, maybe sustainable brands categories should die. If all we're doing is making empty promises around product, pretending that we're going to save the world, yeah, and doing really ineffective marketing, maybe it's meant to die so we can replace it with sustainability becoming the core engine that breathes life back into F&B brands and helps them grow across the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rob, for the practical and inspiring for how sustainability can become for the commercial asset. And I would like to try for the Siam Maya chocolate, right?
Yeah.
They have the many branch in Thailand, right? I didn't know before.
They have 6 stores now, 2 in Chiang Mai, and they've opened up around Bangkok. They have a core. They have original flavors, which is 80% core, and then they have the local flavors, which drives about 20%.
Yeah, I saw for the durian.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So very seasonal stuff, but then they've got their traditional, you know, chocolate and caramel and chocolate and macadamia, and so it's a matter of volume as well as having specialty flavors.
Yeah, for the normal one and the unique
that's
one.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Thank you very much. Can I have a big round of applause for Mr. Rob again? Thank you.